What's up, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Automatic Patient Podcast. I am your co-host today, Jordon Comstock. With me, I got our new co-host, Dr. Dan Nelson. Dan, what is up, man?
Living the dream. I'm excited to be here, dude. This is cool.
Yeah.
One of our tenets is our core values is collaboration. So
Yes.
let's put some money where our mouths are, literally.
Yes, I love collaboration. That is how I built my entire company from the ground up without investors. It's all
Awesome, man.
collaboration. So no, this is fun. I'm excited to have you on ongoing now. We had a great episode several times ago with you guys, and I'm like, man, I really need to be recording more with you guys. So today we're going to be talking about a lot of cool stuff. We had a pre-episode meeting and we discussed some things Dan is seeing and things that I'm seeing running my own company. So first of all, Dan, let's start off with some proper introductions. Introduce yourself and kind of talk about why you find passion in talking dentistry with me, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, I've been in the game for a little while. I've seen a couple of things over the last few years. I actually came through Midwestern University. That was my education, my dental education. I loved it there. We were in the inaugural class, so that was a wild ride, but ultimately it was really fantastic. And I decided to go Air Force to help pay for school. I've got a lot of motivations on why I did Air Force, but
I got a friend that just did that.
yeah, it's a good way to go, man. Anybody ever wants to talk about going the military route, they can reach out to me. I'd love to give them some insight. But yeah, I decided to do an AEGD. So I did that through the Air Force as well. Went to Nebraska, did a AEGD residency there. Loved that. That was a kick in the pants, and learned a lot, and got stationed in Japan for a while. I honed my skills in Japan, working on our awesome active duty members and their families over there.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was rad. And then, I had a really cool opportunity kind of fall in my lap. I wasn't expecting it. My partner, Jared Hill, reached out. Well, it was kind of funny. He didn't actually reach out. I won't get too far into this story, but just some serendipity. We ended up together through a very odd meeting in Tokyo. I had met with one of his buddies that
Really?
actually produced. Yeah, it's a wild story, but yeah, just things, the stars lined up. I moved out to Sun Valley, Idaho, and I bought half this practice. We own and operate Wood River Dental Care in Haley, Idaho, which is part of Sun Valley, and we've been here since 2016. So 8 years now, and dude, this is a rad place to be. And now we're just chasing the dream. So because of that synergy, that collaborative effect that Jared and I had, through another crazy serendipitous series of events, we ended up meeting our Elevation Association partner, Ryan Passy, who brought,
Awesome,
I
dude.
jokingly call him a numbers wizard.
Yes.
He's a
He's a
wizard,
stud.
Dude, everybody needs a wizard on their team. Like, if you don't
Yes.
have a
I have
wizard,
one
you
of
miss
those.
out,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah, I do.
it's too hard without a wizard. There's too many things going on in this world.
Yeah.
Not have a wizard. If you don't believe me, just watch the Lego movie. Anyway, so we brought him on actually as a business manager for Wood River Dental, but his skill set was so astounding that we were able to bring a missing component to Elevation Association, and EA was born. And then from EA, from Elevation Association, we created this crazy 501c3 nonprofit called the Dental Legacy Foundation. So I'm just burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah, you're busy.
But it's
And now
giving
you're
me
doing a podcast with me.
yeah, man. Heck yeah. This is the fun stuff. Like, this
Yeah.
is I seek out. And that's the thing, Jordan, is that, and I think that everybody needs to understand that listens to this show, is that we're facilitating. The reason this show exists and the reason that we're doing this is to facilitate and enable people to live their best life, to literally like chase those dreams and make it happen, and allow their business to serve their personal lives, not be a slave to the job. Like, and if you are buried in PPO, rubbish, you're not gonna be able to see through it and really chase after the things you want. You're gonna be married to a very scornful and evil and mean PPO spouse, insurance
Yes.
spouse. That's not a good marriage.
Insurance, but not a good marriage. No, we share a very similar vision on that. We're helping practice owners live their best life.
So,
So my story, for those that, I mean, I'm sure our listeners know because you've heard enough of me, which is why I'm bringing Dan because he's probably cooler. Um, so
that's debatable.
I used to own a dental lab with my dad and my twin brother, who's now with me at BoomCloud, which is a software company, a dental software company that helps practices create patient membership programs. But years ago, very similar to your comments of the PPO, but the bad PPO spouse in the practice, we were feeling the effects of that at the dental lab, where I remember getting calls from our 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 practice owners that we were working with, and a lot of them are our friends, right? And we're here in Utah, and I remember getting calls all the time saying, "Hey, Jordon, can you discount your guys' pricing because his patient's on a really bad PPO plan?"
Yeah.
And feeling because it just would the pain would roll to us at the dental lab. I'm like, man, I really enjoy helping patients, but we need to be able to function as a business, or else we're not gonna be in business. And I saw as I mean, I was at the dental lab I ran that for about 8 years before exiting to start BoomCloud, and which was great. I learned a lot of clinical skills from from building restorations and working very closely with practice owners. It was really fun. I actually really enjoyed it, other than the PPO conundrum that we were all dealing with that just drove me crazy. And I got thinking, I'm like, man, if we could really help practices run better without these PPOs so that they can live a better life. Because you have to keep in mind a lot of our customers were friends. Like, I had a best friend from high school who was a dentist, that he was dealing with it as well. And we're like, man, we got to figure this out, dude.
Yeah.
So we figured something out that's helping a lot of practices across the nation. But yeah, I share that same vision with you guys.
Well,
How can we
isn't
help
it?
more practices achieve more success without PPOs and live a better life?
Yeah, dude, like, isn't it crazy how, I mean, crap rolls downhill, right? And so
Yeah.
it, like their crappy situation, their crappy contract, with the insurance company, like, you didn't make that contract, you didn't have anything to do with it,
No,
and they're
it's
coming
not
to
even a
you and like,
negotiation.
yeah,
Or collaboration to your
exactly. Yeah,
core
it's
value.
like,
Yeah.
hey, Jordan, can you fix our sucky situation that we've trapped ourselves in? You know what I mean? And it's so common, and it's not like it's it's a sucky thing because so many docs think it's necessary,
Yeah.
right? Like, they're
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm new, or I don't have enough patience, and they're focusing on the wrong things. They're
Some
they're
scarcity mentality.
yeah,
Hmm.
not just that, but just like they equate being busy with being successful. But a
Sure.
hamster in a wheel is plenty busy. They're not going anywhere. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing. And now, and I wanted to hit on this in this podcast is that, as far as the industry goes, it's not good right now as far as overhead. Like, overhead, we're getting pounded right now in overhead. And I don't mean to pick on labs, but I
Yeah.
mean, as part of it, they've got rising costs too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I've
I'm
got
not
some,
offended.
yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I've got
crazy.
data here that since 2021, staffing costs have risen as much as 10 or over 10%.
Yeah. In some areas, it's
Maybe,
like 25%, I've heard.
yeah, it just depends where you're at. We have a client in California
Yeah.
that this
Jeez.
will make some of you guys throw up listening to this. He's having to pay his hygienist over $90 an hour just to keep
Jeez.
it there. They can't, and
Yeah.
he's losing money. He knows he's losing money on the hygiene front, but he feels like he's beholden to that because he feels
That
like, if I don't
contract.
have patients coming in, I can't diagnose and I can't get
Yeah,
treatment.
it is part of the marketing or revenue funnel of a practice. So yeah, I get that that's a scary situation to be in, though. It's like, oh, my front end of the funnel is more expensive now, which is
Yeah,
not
it's crazy.
good.
Goods and services is up 9 to 20%.
Hmm.
Brutal, brutal. And so, if and the crazy thing about all that is, if you are stuck in the PPO quicksand.
Yeah.
And so across the board, if you look at the national like trend of reimbursements from insurance, it's actually going down.
Yeah.
So overhead's gone up, insurance reimbursements
Reimbursements down.
down. So you have this like pretty crappy situation as far as, if you're a PPO, or if you're in that insurance quagmire, that I call it quicksand, because it just
It is.
slowly pulls you down.
Yeah.
If
It's
you
invisible. It's invisible costs. A lot of practices aren't looking at them, right? So yeah, it's exactly what it is.
they
It's
just know they're not
low.
bringing home as much, and
Yeah.
they're scratching their heads
Geez.
going, well, how come I'm not bringing home as much as I was? And
I'm working my tail off, but I'm not bringing home as much.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's buck wild, dude. It's not good, that's for sure. And I think what we can get into that a little bit and talk a little bit more about, the effects of signing those contracts and becoming a provider for these insurance companies, what that does, and how overhead affects your practice more that way, because it's going to have a lot more impact. With those increases are going to affect you much more, because you're getting reimbursed less. Just because you're
Yeah.
busy doesn't mean that all of a sudden your overhead's going down.
No. No. Yeah, that's insane. Those are interesting stats, Dan. So let's get started with some of these questions. Why do people purchase PPO plans from a patient perspective, and why do practice owners sign the contracts? Let's talk about both.
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I think that there's multiple things that go into why on both ends of it, right? Like, so why does a patient say yes, put their hand up when a lot of times it's because they equate dental insurance with medical insurance, or even
Yes,
car insurance.
and it's not even the same.
No, it's a bloody coupon. I've said
It
that
is.
in the previous show that we did. I equate it to a coupon, because that's what it is. It's
Yeah,
you.
a lot of doctors will say that, like, hey, this is just it's a limited coupon. It's not even like a real coupon.
Yep. Yeah, it's one expensive coupon too.
Yeah,
But I think that the reason that so many people opt in is that their employers will pay for it.
sure.
So it's a perk. And so when the employee is getting it as a benefit for a company they're working for, they just opt in, and they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, and it's kind of mindless. And I think we're
Yep.
programmed to say, yep, I'll take that. Do you have dental? Yes, we
Yeah.
do.
And they don't even
And
know the
so,
details of what that means.
no, they don't even, until they go and visit and they say, what, you only pay 50% of my crown? Like, I have to pay the other 50%. And then once this $2,000 or $1,500 in my coupon is used up, then I have to pay all of it. Like, it's never explained that way. I used to work for an insurance company. I can tell you it's not.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I know.
had so go ahead.
Oh, I was just say it was my, shaking hands with the devil. I
Yeah.
was employed by, I won't say the name of the company, but I can tell you some not good things that go on in insurance companies.
Yeah, I have several employees that also worked at the insurance companies and find relief here at Boom Cloud. um, I was gonna say you talk about the reason why is employers pay for it. So here at Boom Cloud, me as the employer, we educate them why they don't want to sign up for Delta, and we all of our employees here have a dental benefit plan with Dr. Anderson from Essential Dentists in Pleasant Grove. We actually should bring him on the podcast. He's got a very successful membership program, and he targets like the local uh, business scene here in Lehi, Utah, right? Which is a buzzing business scene, and he's done really well. But we'd love to bring him on the podcast, discuss that and what he's done. But yeah, you're absolutely right. People buy it mindlessly because of the employer relationship. The interesting thing is because these are like large companies we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
I read an article the other day that over 74-ish million Americans lack dental insurance. And where do they mostly live? Well, people that are getting ready or are already retired, and then small business land, right? I don't purchase anything for my employees because, well, I have a different mindset because I understand how the PPOs work in dental. So we just don't do that. Um, and in optometry too, right? We have optometrists that use our platform, and we buy optometry plans for all of our employees directly through the practice, right? but there's 74 million Americans that don't have dental insurance,
That's a lot.
which tells us there's a huge total addressable market for practices to uh, really optimize their business outside of PPOs with their own plan, right? So I'm always excited to talk about that stuff. So okay, employers pay for it. Any other patient mindset there? They just don't understand the
I
difference
think it's
between
lack of
medical and dental.
education. Yeah, I
So
think
yeah,
I think it's the path of least resistance for so many of them. You know
yeah,
what I mean? It's like in the busy world, if they come to you and say you have dental, it's a benefit, check the box. They check the
yep,
box, they move on. And so it's one of these things that, I would say that there's four main things to limit somebody from some type of success, right? It's arrogance, ignorance, ambivalence, and fear, right? And so
sure,
you run into it all over the place, right? But this is one of those places where they're mostly ignorant, they're ambivalent, they just don't care. It's like, okay, yeah, it just is something that I think, sadly, that it's just not, there's not a lot of education on it. They don't know those alternatives, and
yeah,
they end up in that pool of people that just are like, yeah, I have dental insurance, I'm good, But then the mindset, you guys, every doc that's listening to this knows the insurance mindset, and like,
yes.
oh, does my insurance cover that? Like,
No, it
they,
doesn't cover anything.
yeah, you,
1,500
okay, no,
bucks.
yeah, it doesn't cover it. Yeah, not really.
Yeah, that's the answer. It depends. Well, actually, not really.
But I think, Jordan, I think on the flip side of the coin is,
Yeah.
why are docs signing up? Like, why
Yes.
are docs like, hey, yeah, this sounds like a good idea. Um, and I think, again, it's this same things. It's arrogance, ignorance, ambivalence, and fear. Like, those things come into play. It is.
It's so
Uh,
true. It's so simple.
Dude, it's simple, but think about the things that inhibit us, and it's one of those things, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if you're a doc and you're listening to this and you're like, hey, that offends me, it's because it's true. And the problem is that probably fear was one of the great motivators to get you to sign up to become a provider. And ignorance was definitely in there, because I promise that most of the people that didn't read through all the contract and understand like what goes into a global fee, for example. Like,
Yeah.
I bet most docs don't know what the heck a global fee is.
No.
And all the garbage that gets rolled into a global fee just to absolutely neuter your bottom line.
Jeez.
So, and on the other side, and this is the thing that we tell with our clients is like, factor in your write-offs, right? So one of our golden rules or commandments is never, ever, ever, ever adjust your fees to match that of the reimbursements of the insurance company, ever.
Sure. Which
Because you
happens a
can't tell,
lot.
yeah, all the time, because the
Yeah.
front desk does it and the doc doesn't even know. And
So it
they're like,
becomes
oh,
invisible costs.
yeah, it totally. The thing that you don't know then is, how much are you losing? What are you actually leaving on the table by being a provider? And so if someone does that, and there are some offices that do, that are good about not breaking that commandment,
Mhm.
but just take that write-off amount, right? And then instead of applying it to write-offs, apply it to your marketing budget.
Yes.
Marketing budget should be 3% of your total overhead, operating overhead.
Yeah.
If you apply what you write off to marketing, you're going to be upward in the anywhere from 25 to 50% of that. Now is just take that and slide it, what should be 3%. Now you're in upward of 50%
Yeah.
of your overhead is going into marketing, because the idea is, well, I need to bring people into my practice. I need to bring patients into my practice. And they're willing to sell off 50% of their revenue, right? Or 50%
Forever.
of their profit, yeah, of their profit, to bring those patients in. Well, sorry, that's marketing. That's what marketing does. So
Yeah. What if
it
you
has to be this paradigm shift of like, oh my gosh, I'm not just, you know, taking a write-off. No, you are shifting your money, or what
Mhm.
you're willing to give up in profitability, into this marketing component to bring patients in, and you're paying as much as 50% of your total
Jeez.
overhead towards that.
Plus
That's
admin costs. Plus admin costs, right?
crazy.
There's that too. Yeah, that's really interesting that you say that, because a lot of practices don't think that way. Um, Looking at it as a marketing cost or a reinvestment into the practice cost.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of practices don't understand that when they sign the dotted line of the evil PPO empire, um, that there's such a thing called patient acquisition costs, and that contract you will always pay because of the write-offs that patient acquisition costs, which is a very inefficient and costly way to attract and retain patients to the practice. If I had somebody that like our sales team here, right, and marketing team, if every new customer that signed up for Boom Cloud, they're like, well, we're going to take 50% of that revenue for the life of it, whether we're working for Boom Cloud or not, I would probably fire them and get rid of them and stay as far as possible away from that type of mindset. Because it's like, oh, you're taking you're taking something that, yeah, I should have like a temporary cost and making it an ongoing forever cost. That doesn't make
Yep.
any sense to
Making
me.
it a fixed cost.
Making it a fixed cost that doesn't go away. So that's what insurance does. So, all right, that's awesome. What other reasons do practice owners buy? So we got the fear, probably because like I need more patients because I need to figure out how to grow. Any other reasons, Dan?
I think that sometimes there's pressure. I think the big one is either maintaining, whether they're buying a practice, an existing practice, or they're a startup, is the patient base is a big part of it, right? And so
Sure.
if they walk in and they're like, oh, 70% of our patients are, are some type of insured, typical
Hmm.
traditional insurance, they are fearful of losing that base. And so they're just going to stay in it. And the other thing that we've noticed, Jordan, is that, this is we sound like a broken record with this, but
It's good.
dentistry is relatively easy to, it's hard to get there, right? There's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of work, but once you're in it,
Yes.
it is a profit and a revenue generating machine. Dentistry
Oh
can.
yeah. Oh yeah. It's a great
Um,
business.
it's a great business, and you don't have to be good at business. Most dental schools have a very underdeveloped
Business
practice
program.
management and business lineup. They don't teach you much as far as business goes.
Sure.
So it is because they haven't had to,
Yeah.
and now with the onset of more DSOs and corporate dental, like
Yes.
graduates need to know less and less. As a matter of fact, most of them, there was one of the schools, I was talking with the deans at one of the schools, and they had
Hmm.
close to 70% of their graduates go corporate or DSO this last year. So what does that say? That
Did you say
says
70%?
70. And again, that's only a sampling of one school. So I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
sure.
of
That's not
everybody.
nationwide, but yeah, that's
No.
interesting.
Um, and the year before that was about 50. So, COVID has had an effect on this. We have to factor that in.
Yeah.
Some of these, there's other things that go into it we don't need to talk about right now, but still, that's an interesting statistic that tells you that out of that 50 to 70%, there's probably some that are like, I don't want to do the business aspect. Maybe I'm scared of it. I don't
Sure.
understand it. I don't like it. Whatever the motivation is, whether it be arrogance, ignorance, ambivalence, or fear, to keep them from
That's such a good
opening their own
framework.
practice. Yeah, dude, it'll come up over and over and
I
over.
know it's so good.
Um, but whatever that is, that's going to push them into that, where now they're just adopting whatever the DSO and the corporate model has.
Yeah.
So you have that component as well. And some of these DSO and corporate, dental companies are extremely streamlined, and their bottom line
Yeah.
can handle the write-off. They're built to handle the write-off, and they thrive, and their model is based around patient turnover and high volume. And so to have
Yep.
high volume, you have to take the insurance companies, like you
Yep.
have to be a provider for it.
And they probably know their processes like the back of their hand. It's
Yep.
a fine-tuned machine. I mean, I saw
Totally.
that at the lab too when we worked with a large DSO. It was very fine-tuned. Um, it kind of fascinating as well for a geek like me, I guess, a business geek. No, that's awesome. All right, so we covered why patients purchase and why practices sign the dotted line, the evil dotted line,
The evil
uh,
line.
the evil dotted line.
That's right.
So
Insert maniacal laugh here.
yes, and yes. So what let's shift gears a little bit, talk about the ideal patient avatar. Why is it important to understand this concept of business and practice management? Why should a practice create the ideal patient avatar? And why is it so critical to master this concept?
I love that before we started recording, I love that you're so pumped up on this idea.
Yeah,
And
I'm a geek about it. Yeah.
yeah, but also what's cool is that the fact that that's something that we're working on behind our scenes right now as well. And our partner Ryan, he got real pumped this week. It was actually this week that he came and he's like, guys, check this out. And he gives us this like 4-page document of like, and it said, and I'm looking at it right now. I'm in our conference room here, and I'm just staring at this
Data set.
yeah, well, I've got data sets up, and I've got this, and I'm going to read what it says
Sure.
right off the top. It says ideal patient avatar questionnaire. Like,
Yeah.
so when you said
So
that, I'm like,
good.
no way, Jordon, I got it right here. Like, this is
I
awesome.
I swear there's like we're having some synergies happen at the same time over there in Idaho and over here in Lehigh,
Right?
Utah, Boom Cloud.
Collaboration, baby. It's
Yeah,
it's
baby.
real. Yeah. So this is a concept, and yeah, God bless Ryan for being ahead of the game all the time.
What
His
a
mind,
stud. Yeah.
again, he's a wizard. This is what
The
happens with
wizard.
wizards. They
You
see the
got to get a
future,
wizard.
But he put together this questionnaire, and you ask, what does the ideal patient avatar look like? And it's
Mhm.
different for every office, right? So every
Yeah.
office has a different, we say avatar, we've stolen that from Gino Wickman. That was a
Oh
phrase
yeah.
used in Traction, in his book Traction, which if
Great
anyone,
book.
you just go buy it, read it. But that idea of having an ideal patient profile, right? So who is the perfect patient for your practice? What do they, not like, do they have brown hair or red hair? And that's not what I'm talking about. That's a
Yeah.
dating app. So what I'm talking about is like, what do you look for? So what we look at is, so here's some of the questions. This will help better frame this concept, right? So the questions is, what is the ideal age range of your patients?
Mhm.
What gender do you identify more with? We work with a practice in Arizona that the doc, her vision was to treat, to be more female oriented, and be more attractive to where more females are comfortable coming and seeing a female team.
Sure.
And then to have anxiety patients, like people that suffer from anxiety. She wanted to target the high anxiety female demographic. So, okay, so that's kind of
Cool.
something, what is the average household income? What type of insurance this is a big one. What type of insurance coverage do most of your ideal patients have? Are they cash patients? Everybody should say cash patients if you're not like a huge group practice, right?
Yes.
Geographic information. How big's the household? These are the things that start to create, okay,
Income demographics, all that.
yeah,
Yeah.
these are the things that we're looking for demographically that will create this avatar or this ideal patient. And it's so important to understand, because if you're going to market, you better know who you're marketing to.
Yeah.
If you're going to be spending, if I'm going to take whatever money I was, let's say if I just get rid of PPOs altogether, take that money that I was wasting on that write-off and then apply it to marketing. So let's say instead of 3%, I bump it up to 6. I
Yeah.
really want to throw some money behind.
Yeah. You really want to get it in gear.
What's that?
You really want to get it in gear if you're throwing
Yeah.
6% in.
You
Yeah.
really want to get in gear and just kick it into gear. Then you would better know who you're targeting and how to target them.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just going to be flushing money down the toilet.
Yeah, and I've done just that. I've flushed money down the toilet, and I've learned some hard lessons there because the lack of clarity of ICP, or I call it ideal customer profile for us at Boom Club, but it's an ideal avatar of
Yeah.
a client, right? Whether you run in a practice or run in a software company, it's all universal, right? And they all
Totally.
have the same effects. When you get it, you really can you can hit the ground running from a marketing and new patient attraction and retention perspective, because that's just as important as attracting, to making sure you're finding the right customers that fit what you can serve them, right, with your
Yep.
superpowers. So I'm a huge advocate of this. We're doing a whole focus factor here at Boom Cloud on that, because we've realized that the practices we work with have a certain criteria, right? Qualifications that we want to find more of them, because we like hanging out with those types of practices. We like helping those types of practices, and we know it's a better collaboration between our company and their company. So
Totally.
this is really critical stuff that I think number one, yeah, we're not taught this in dental. I don't think even business school teaches this. This is this
No,
is this is street cred stuff.
that's right. You only learn this when you're hardened in the streets.
Yeah, I don't think you really learned too much of this in business school. You just kind of learned it the hard way. At least that's been my experience.
Well, and Jordan, the thing is like, don't you think that like Nike, don't you think they have an avatar? Like,
Oh, they totally
obviously,
do.
the
Yeah.
easy answer is, well, I want everybody to come in. Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's fine, but now throw some marketing money behind everybody and let's see
It,
how it
it's a
goes,
really
you know?
expensive. And yeah, we years ago, I had a VP of sales, and I brought this concept to him of really honing into our avatar, right? And he said exactly what you just said. Well, don't you want everybody to give you money? It's like there's such a thing as bad revenue, right? As weird as that sounds, there is
Yep.
such a thing as bad revenue, meaning the cost to acquire is too high for what uh, the output or the end outcome of that type of patient or customer, and maybe not enough to cover the cost of the
Yep.
acquisition of that customer. So yeah, that's that's
Well,
that's why we talk about this. It's really important.
let's paint a picture of that for a practice. So
Sure.
a practice says, okay, we're going to do offer free, this, that, the other. It's all free.
Yeah.
Come in, it's free. So they attract patients that are like, "Ooh, free! I'm going to come in." And then all of a sudden they notice the no-show rate skyrockets, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Why aren't people
What's going
coming in
on?
anymore?
I see
Why is it all of a sudden so high?" I
your
said,
ideal
"Well, you just
patient profile's
attracted
off.
people. Yeah, you just attracted a bunch of people that are motivated by getting something for nothing. They're not investing in their own health.
Yeah.
They don't value your time. I'll tell you that much, you know?
Yeah. It's
And so
the entitled mentality type patients you're
totally,
driving. The funny thing is, Dan, this actually happened to me the other day. You know, we record these podcasts and we cut them up and we put them on TikTok, and other
yeah,
platforms. And I had that exact comment on one of the videos that made me laugh from a patient, not a practice owner, right? Patient gets on like membership plans for dentists. No way. I've only been surviving on the free offerings from dentists is what the comment was. And I'm like, geez, that is a poor patient. Yes, you want the membership plan to scare that patient away because he's this particular patient. The mindset was, well, I only go to the ones that offer free offerings, and then I churn out and go to the next one. It's like, no, don't attract those patients.
no, dude, that's why clip-on veneers from online places
Jeez,
exist. Is
yeah,
because
it's not
those people,
good.
man, it just sucks. There's patients out there that are of that mentality, and that's sad and it sucks because they're obviously their oral health is suffering, but like it's a real thing. And do you want
Yeah,
to is that something that you want to build your practice off of, you know? And so
yeah,
you really should understand. I mean, we believe so much in this that, and we've been preaching Avatar for a long time,
so good.
but at
Yeah,
Elevation Association, like I said, we've actually now generated, thanks to Ryan's wizardry, that we've been able to generate we can actually show you, like, you fill out this questionnaire and we will create an absolute avatar profile for you
yeah.
that we can hand you and say, this is your ideal avatar.
Mm,
And not just that, we're going to show you how you can attract this ideal avatar. We'll work with your
so
marketing
good.
company and we're going to show you like how to not throw bad money at this. We're going to show you how to effectively attract this ideal patient.
Yeah, that is so good. I love hearing that you're helping practices with that. Over the years, I've learned the hard way and the easy way, right? We all do.
Yeah.
And I am learning more so now than ever because we are really investing into our growth at Boom Cloud. So we just don't have PPOs that take 50% of our margins, right? So I'm putting a really aggressive growth, more than 6%, we'll say, back into our growth engine. And as I've been doing this, because I want to help more practices. Um, as I've been doing this, we've been learning and refining the avatar. And I'm just going to tell you, all of our listeners, that this is a critical part of your practice to get in order to compete with DSOs and to find those and to live a better practice life, right? A
Yeah.
well-balanced life, what you guys say. It's like, man, don't you want to find those ideal patients that are really great to work with? Because I know at the dental lab, we work with a variety of patients because we didn't control the avatar. We controlled the
Oh,
avatar of the practice, right? Of who we were targeting. And we got some wild cards patient wise in there. And I mean, we can just have a weird one of these days, Dan, let's have a weird patient episode. I've got plenty of stories. Yeah, we're going to do that.
dude, we'll bring on some other docs and we'll
Yes,
just have
let's
a
do that.
straight out weird patient episode.
We
That'd be
that is
great.
definitely going to be part of our plan here. All
I'm
right,
writing it
so
down right now, Jordan.
write
Weird
it down.
patient
I'm dead
episode.
serious because I got some stories, man. All right, so shifting gears. So we're going to talk about the effects of PPO overhead, and then the last question we'll talk about what is the PPO patient value versus a membership patient value
Yeah,
is
I'm
the next
excited
thing.
to talk
So
about that.
yes, really
But
fun
yeah,
stuff. Go ahead.
let's jump back to that effect on pay. I think this is an important concept to understand is
Yes.
the effects, because we think, oh, well, I'm generating more revenue. Generating more revenue, so it's production, right? So
Yeah.
I'm generating more production,
Yes.
therefore I must be making more money.
No,
Right?
because there's no such thing as, I mean, there's such thing as bad revenue.
Totally. Yeah. And
Yeah.
the thing that happens, so this is what happens. You go, let's say you decide to go into a growth model and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I want to grow my practice.
Mhm.
And so in order to do that, I need to, I'm going to sell my soul to the devil and I'm going to become provider for every insurance that I can sign up for because I
Yeah,
want them to refer patients to me. And so
sure.
let's say you do that. And let's say it's even successful. And let's say you go from 1,000 patients, 1,000 patient base, and let's say it jumps up to 3,000 now. Now you have 3,000 patients in your practice. Well, in order to service all those patients, you've probably had to bring on 1, 2, 3 more hygienists. You've had to bring on 1, 2, 3 more assistants. You probably had to bring on an associate. You probably had to bring on another front office person. You probably had to bring on, maybe somebody else in another capacity, whether it be, insurance coordinator, whether it be hygiene
Yep.
assistant, whatever it is. And so now you've increased your overhead a lot just by doing that. All of your goods and services have gone up, which we talked about in the beginning of the show, have gone up 10 to 20% since 2021. So now we've increased all of those things 10 to 20%, in addition to adding the payroll overhead, the insurance overhead, the keeping the lights on overhead, the additional chairs, all of the loans you've taken out, because maybe now I want another
Jeez.
Steric in my office. I
Yeah.
need, now I need another sterilizer. All these little things start adding up as you are in this growth phase. So you're in this growth model, but now you used to have 1,000 cash paying patients, let's say, or whatever. Let's say that you
Yeah.
were, and this is the thing is I think that every doc needs to understand. If you're a practice owner, you absolutely must know the percentage of patients that are cash, percentage of patients that are patient benefit plan, or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
And then the percentage of patients that are insurance. So if you don't know that, you're flying blind. But let's assume you know that,
Big time.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now you've increased your patient base by 2,000 patients. So you've grown a lot, exponentially, you've grown. But your reimbursement on those is not growing exponentially. Your reimbursement, and we're seeing write-offs. It is not, Jordan, it's not uncommon for write-offs to be over 50%. And matter of fact, in certain areas,
Jeez.
like I was alluding to earlier, our docs in California, in certain areas of California, are losing money on all, not some, all of their hygiene procedures. Every
Just
code they're losing money on.
squeeze. It's just a
Yep,
big squeeze. Yeah.
all of them. So if you can imagine, if you ran, let's say, because I would assume that with the 2 doc practice, you're going to need 4 hygienists at least, right?
Yeah.
So if you are barely covering your costs or you're losing money when you're seeing 8 hygiene patients per row or per hygienist per day, think about what that adds up to. Now you're still paying that hygienist the same amount, and they're supposed to be a provider. They're supposed to be able to pay for themselves, right? So based on profitability models, they should be able to provide for themselves. Here's the other thing that sucks. What if you have cancellations? So they don't show
That's
up. You're still paying your hygiene
no
team
revenue
the same
production.
amount of
Yep.
money. And now you've increased that patient load, which if you just take 20%
Revenue
threshold.
per patient declines when that happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So now your overhead is increasing and your reimbursements are going down, down, down. And so this is something that can happen. We know this from firsthand experience. We know that if you get to a certain point, that you're going to start to feel the pinch of that insurance on your overhead, even though you might be producing at record levels. It doesn't matter. You've really got to get granular and break down and look at how this is affecting the overall bottom line. And so, it's one thing to be, and you need to track production. It's important. And it's good to know that you're jamming on revenue, but if it affects your profitability, if your true overhead is too high because of this sacrifice, it's having that insurance and having them feed you these patients it can be very detrimental to the health of your practice.
Yeah, that's insane. That I'm still thinking about revenue per patient going down with the lack of with the cost of the hygienist and assistant. And whatever else costs them. There's so much more that goes into that. With just like skimming the surface of costs.
Yeah. I mean, we with our clients, we have to get super granular with this so we can break it. I mean, you've got to look at your P&L. There is a lot you've got to break down. The PL is a component of what you've got to be able to dissect and look at, but you've got to look at production per visit. How much are they produce your hygiene? And moreover, what is collections per visit? So what's the profitability? And that's an interesting kind of side note, Jordan, is that in our own office, we ran a comparison of the annual patient value of our patient benefit plan patients against the Delta patients that we had. And Delta it's tough to get out sometimes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Delta patients in our practice, and we're in Idaho, so keep in mind reimbursement rates from Delta in Idaho are awful, to be fair.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Utah is the same.
Utah is, I think, worse than Idaho.
Is there a good state?
Not that I've heard of it.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know. Maybe no, I don't know.
Maybe if you're on Delta, was it Premier or whatever?
So yeah, that's a whole nother discussion. But yes, maybe
that's a dying plan though.
Oh, they're trying to squash it. That's for sure. But on our Delta patients annual patient value was around $500.
Okay.
Our patient benefit plan members annual patient value was $1,700
plus the subscription.
Plus, that's not including the subscription.
So that's just with treatment, which is
just treatment.
We call that revenue stacking over here at Boom Cloud.
Crazy, right?
That's fascinating. What is that is that 3x?
Yeah, 3x. It's actually more than 3x.
A little over 3x. So membership patients are over 3x more valuable than PPO patients, plus you get the subscription, which adds more value. So if you're charging, I don't know, $400 a year, that adds to that 1,700. I think the average membership plan price across the country is at $450 a year. So if we added the $450 plus that 1,700 that you showed us, it's roughly $2,150.
4-time multiplier.
Yep. So that's how things stack, right? Where I call that the revenue value ladder. So you're stacking revenue, so it's higher quality versus the opposite what we're seeing here with Delta and other PPO plans. I'm sure are very similar or comparable. $500 value. So 3x plus what PPOs are doing. Man, why don't you want more? Wouldn't you want more patients that are high quality and probably happy and to join a plan? You're not looking for those the freebie type practices, the freeloaders, the patients that are freeloaders, like the TikTok example I said earlier of, oh, I've been surviving my whole life on freebies from dentists. I'm like, geez, yeah, that's proof right there. TikTok is giving us proof of why you shouldn't offer freebies because it attracts the wrong avatar.
Well, and I can appreciate that when you're coming out of school, you're carrying a lot of debt. Like
Yeah,
dental debt is scary, right? It's
it is
so,
scary. Yeah,
and
it's
there's a lot of, again, fear is a primary motivator. It's a sucky motivator,
gosh,
but it
that's
is a
such a good
motivator.
framework. We need to make an image of that to give to everybody. That's such a great framework. No, this has been awesome. And to our audience listening, I hope this has been bringing you guys value. This is, I mean, I'm not a dentist. I'm a more business guy, and I'm finding value off of this episode with you, Dan. This has been awesome.
It's fun, right? Like
So,
I just think it's so important, and it's obviously a passion that we have at Elevation Association that we share with Boom Cloud,
yes,
and
likewise.
yeah, we want to see people in our profession do well. I think that there's enough
Yeah.
to go around, that, it's not going away, illness, diseases,
Yeah.
so it's not,
People needing crowns. Yeah.
yeah,
That will never go away.
right.
In fact,
It's
the
just,
insurance companies are the leeches on top of you guys, leeching,
that's,
leeching. They're just leeches.
they're parasitical. They're
Yeah.
absolutely parasitical. And,
Yep.
and the sad thing is that insurance controls so much of the
Yeah.
decision-making process, either by the doc or the patient or the employees in the office.
Yeah.
That insurance mindset is very hard to break. It is not easy to overcome. Even if the doc can see through everything, and it's like, yes, I see what you're saying. I can tell you right now, if anyone is listening to this, it's having this thought, and I think there are some that it's like, yeah, Jordan, yeah, Dan, but I have this situation,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I
We
get
always
what
hear
you're
that.
saying,
Yeah.
but I have this problem, I have this issue, and it's like, okay, what are you doing to work through it? Like, what
Yeah.
have you done to like
What do you do to
overcome
solve
it?
it?
Why just lay down? Like,
Well,
why just like, well, I'm just going to let this parasite just suck me dry,
yeah, the truth is we're all dealing with challenges that can be solved.
yep.
And the other truth is we have a thing here at Boom Club where we call distortion, right? Mental distortion, where we may look at a small segment of a customer base and then distort it on up, right? And make a big decision over the entire customer base or the industry. It's like, no, that's just actually a really small segment. So you may be talking about 20 different patients that you're like saying, but you know what I mean? That's usually the truth when we dig into it. It's like, oh, it's only like 3% of your patient base, bro. It
Yeah.
can be solved, right? Most of the
Yeah.
time we're making mountains out of molehills
Well,
because you've had an experience with a patient that
because
day.
I
I feel
feel
like, yeah, it's
like,
not backed with
like,
with real raw data.
yeah, it's not a massage, guys. Don't make decisions off of feelings.
Yeah, that's good. No, I love this. This was a great episode. We'll be posting this. Dan, tell everybody what you guys are doing. I know you guys have an event. Share that, and I'll share some things that we're doing at Boom Cloud.
Yeah, man, got two big things coming up. I am leaving in 2 weeks to go to Africa. We're going to Tanzania with the Dental Legacy Foundation. My partner Jared Hill, he is going in November to Tanzania. We have
So fun.
a few trips. Mark Costas took his dental, through the DSI, Dental Success Institute.
Yeah.
He opened a 501c3 not 501c3 nonprofit similar to Dental Legacy Foundation that we've been able
Hmm.
to collaborate with.
Collaborate. What a great
Smiles
core
Outreach
value.
International. Yeah, Mark's a rad dude. He's
He's
been
rad.
super good to work with. He went in January. Their group would like to go again. So the bottom line is if you would like to experience a humanitarian aid trip over in Tanzania and really, add to your legacy and build something bigger than yourself, get a hold of us and come volunteer. If you don't do it with us, do it with somebody, but
Yeah,
that is something that we're doing. We go
but do it
annually.
with them.
Yeah, yeah. But Tanzania is pretty special, I will say that. And then
I've
the other
been
big
watching
thing,
your videos because me and my wife Christine are thinking about going. We just got to solve our nanny conundrum because we've got
yeah,
three wild girls, daughters. But yeah, it looks amazing.
it is amazing. It's incredible. It really is incredible. Yeah, it's life changing. I will say absolutely. That's what everybody says when they come back. That was life changing.
Jeez, yeah, that's been one of my wife's dreams to go and do stuff like that.
It's so special. It really is special.
Because my wife was a dental assistant for a while, so she's everything's dental in our family.
Plug and play, baby. You can
Yeah,
put it
man.
right to work. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's what we
Yeah.
need.
I'll make
It's
the
actually,
I'll make the dentures or do the relines because I think I can still do that.
well, even if you're not a dentist, we still like there's a lot to do.
Sure.
So there's plenty
Yeah, my
of
only use is lab work still, I guess.
dude, you have
It
no
may
idea
be
how busy we would make you.
I
It would be
know,
out of
I know.
control.
I've talked to Mark Cossies about it with his, and I'm like, I think it'd be fun to get back into that and kind of brush up on my clinical skills from a lab perspective.
It's so
So
funny.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
and
Go ahead.
oh, I would say direct people to
Perfect.
dentallegacyfoundation.org. Yep, that's there's a volunteer page there. You can fill out an application, or if you just want to get more information, learn what we're doing, or if you want to donate,
Yeah, that's
we
awesome.
take donations. So that would be great if you need a tax write-off, or if you just want to do it out of the goodness of your heart.
Either way works.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
The other thing we've got going on is we have our annual international summit. We're going to, so last year we were, oh, I haven't got my shirt on. Last year we were in El Salvador.
cool.
This year we are going to Nicaragua, and
Amazing.
we do a week there over the week of Valentine's Day. This is meant
Hmm.
to be you, the doc, with your significant other. Come and spend some quality time, and get some CE hours. This is a CE event. We do it. This is not a clinical CE. We focus on life, leadership, and legacy. And go to our webpage to learn more what that means at elevationassociation.com. You can find us on social media as well. But this is next to Africa. This is my favorite event that we do every year.
So
It's
cool.
oh, it's so rad to go.
That's the one I'm looking at. Sorry, I got confused.
No, well, both, man. Like,
Yeah, I should
don't
go
cut
to
yourself
both.
short.
I'll do
Come
both
on,
actually.
man. The cool thing about we do CE completely different. We do it way different.
Yeah,
We do it. I mean, to have a CE event, sometimes beachside.
so fun.
Yeah, it's just so different. We
That's
stack
my
up.
language right there, beachside.
Yeah, I mean,
You
what else
got
do I
me.
have to say? Beachside.
Yeah, you got
Yeah,
me.
with a nice cold beverage in your hand is not a bad way to go down. We focus on small groups. We do small group discussion. We do breakout discussion. We limit the amount of attendees to these events so that we can create a open, cohesive environment where people can afford to be vulnerable. That's really important to us, that they can talk about the pain points, talk about the things that are bothering them without feeling judged or feeling stupid. And I think that's a big deal for a lot of us, is we don't want to bring something up because we feel dumb.
Sure.
So we create this very cool environment. The other thing that we do differently, and we were on the Dentist Advisor podcast
Great
recently.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, they're rad. Such good dudes. And I'll make the same promise here, is that I guarantee that you're going to see more people copying the format of our CE events, because what we do is we do a little CE in the morning. We usually do some at lunch, and then we do some in the evening. And in between it's designed to go and spend some time with your friends, your significant other,
Yeah.
talk about the things that matter. And we
That's so good.
create, yeah. And it's Jared and I hated it when we would go to a CE event. They're like, let's,
Like the
hey, buy
Greater New
expensive
York dental
airfare.
meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
buy
it's so
expensive
bad.
airfare to this place, and then shove you in a box, an air conditioned box, for 8 to 10 hours a day. Right. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's rough.
like, why are we here? Like, couldn't we just go to, like, would it matter where we go if we're just going to be inside the whole time?
Yeah, it
So
doesn't. No.
yeah,
Go to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
yeah,
There's
who
nothing to
cares?
do
Like,
there.
it doesn't matter where you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So we've created something that that people love, and our members and the attendees have really taken to this concept. And our presenters are fantastic. You don't have to come and just listen to me, Jared and Ryan. We're trying to get some guys from Boom Cloud to come
Wonder
and
who.
maybe present. But no, I mean, this is what we look like. We vet our people, and we want people that are of an abundance mindset, have the right mentality to come
Yeah.
in, and also have a wealth of insight, knowledge, wisdom. So in this year's event, Mark Costas will be presenting. The Dentist Advisors will be presenting. We've got a killer lineup, and it's going to be a really special event. So again, elevationassociation.com. Check that out if you're interested in coming.
Awesome, man. Yeah, we'll check that out. And if you're really looking at your patient avatars and you want to scale your membership plan, go check out BoomCloud, boomcloudapps.com. We have practices that are really scaling their membership program nicely. Some of our top clients are generating over $1 million a year in predictable recurring revenue just from the membership fee. Now, if you apply Dan's formula of what he saw in his practice with treatment, that can get really interesting really fast. So I would recommend you guys go check out, do it, schedule a demo. We've got tons of books and resources that are free. Don't just do the freebie stuff though. Just go download it and schedule a demo and see if BoomCloud could be a great fit for you guys as you're building and trying to optimize your practice. So with that said, Dan, awesome episode. Thanks for all of our audience for listening, and we'll see you on the next show. Rock on, everybody.